worship warriors, welcome back to our channel. If you're new, welcome. Thank you for checking us out. We are starting an exciting new series on flag making and how we make our flags. This first video is all about making the rods. Now, we have been seeking the Father, asking him if he really wants us to do this. It's something I have had on my heart for quite a while, but I wanted to make sure that I got the yes from him before I actually went through with doing it. And recently I have gotten a whole bunch of confirmations, but the coolest thing is one of the pioneers in making worship flags, particularly in the spin tube flags, has been in contact with us. And she actually asked us if we would make a video on how to make these rods. And so we got permission from her to make it happen. Her name is Mary Bright. She has been a minister with Body of Praise Ministries for over 20 or 30 years. I can't remember how long it's been, but she's been doing ministry for quite a while. She started making the spin tube flags about 20 years ago. Eventually, we hope to interview her and her journey in flag making and being a ministry coordinator, particularly in ministry in motion. She coined that term, which I love. This truly is ministry in motion. Dancing and ministry put together in motion. So she coined that term and has been training dancers worldwide for a long time. She's been putting together events for a long time. So it's really cool to be in contact with her. We actually go way back. We've known her for a long time. It's been somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 years. And so we knew that she was into flags. We just didn't know that she did it that much. We lost touch with her for several years and are recently in touch with her again. So it's been really cool. And I'm excited to be doing this video. There's actually another video out there that's old. It's been around for like 9 years, but we thought, well, why don't we go ahead and show how we do this process? So you may be asking why we decided to share our secrets. Really, they're not secrets, guys. This is not anything that belongs to any of us. This all belongs to our Father because it's for worship. And so with that in mind, because it does not belong to us, we feel like it's just not fair to keep it a secret. It's like we're burying our talents. And there's a lot out there who are struggling financially, and our Father has commissioned us to ensure that everyone can receive flags, even if they have to make them themselves, so that they don't have to spend so much money on labor, because it does, factoring in the labor in making the flags does cost a lot of money. So if you really want some flags for worship, then you can make the flags yourself. So here is how we make the spin tube rods. Eventually I will get into how to create your own templates and cut out the fabric, sew it, whatever it is that you need to make the full gamut of worship flags. And who knows, maybe one of these days, Father will anoint you as he has us in not only making the flags, but also selling them and blessing others in the anointing and praying over flags, praying over people, and ministering to people when it comes to flag making and flag dance and worship. Just a quick reminder, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon while you're at it. That way you get notifications every time we upload a new video. We are constantly adding to our supply of videos. So just so that you don't miss anything, hit that notification button. So here is the list of tools and products you are going to need for these rods. Very first thing is you want some kind of a saw. We like to use an oscillating saw with a wood cutting attachment. You can also use a hacksaw. You can use a table saw. You can also use some pruning shears that are pretty easy for ladies like me who are really not into power tools. It's a lot easier to just use the pruning shears to cut the rods. By the way, be sure that you check the description box below. I will have a whole lot of links in the description that will take you over to Amazon or wherever it is that you need to go in order to find these products, as well as links to all of the different websites and videos that are mentioned in this video. Okay, moving on. So I already mentioned that you need a saw. We use an oscillating saw. You will also need a 40-inch dowel rod. Next, you will need two 1.5-inch wood ball dowel caps with a 3/8 inch hole, two wood dowel caps 1 inch in diameter with a 3/8 inch hole, two wood beads with a 3/8 inch hole all the way through the center, clear vinyl tubing, 5/8 inch outer dimension and a 1/2 inch inner dimension, a heat gun, clear gloss water-based polyurethane, a tape measure, and I almost forgot the wood glue. Very important one. You can use wood glue, you can use hot glue, you can use super glue. Just use a glue. We like wood glue. Now, as you can see, the pipe that we use comes in a curl, in a wrap, which means that it's not going to spin when you put it on this way. So that's what the heat gun is for. You want to use the heat gun in order to get it to lay flat on the rod so it'll spin. If you don't want to go through all that mumbo jumbo, you can just get a Schedule 20 1/2-inch PVC pipe or PEX. Be really careful when you get PEX, however. When you buy it from places like Home Depot, I'm not sure about if you were to get it online, but whenever I bought it from Home Depot, it's kind of a hit and miss kind of thing because PEX is thinner, it's a lighter weight kind of stuff, and so when I bought it, there have been parts of it where it's been warped, and I don't know how to straighten that out, which means some of those pipes I wasn't able to use because they weren't straight enough in order for them to spin on the rod. And using the heat gun, that don't work, not on PEX. So be careful when you buy that. You want to make sure you have a very straight piece of PEX. You can just use a hacksaw in order to cut those. Try to stay away from Schedule 40 PVC pipe because those get kind of heavy. And you really don't want, you want the lighter the pipe it is, the better, which is why we really like to use these. And I feel like they look nicer. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of actually making these rods. First thing you're going to do is, basically what you're doing is cutting this rod in half. And half of that would measure at 24 inches, and it will give you 2 rods total. At this point in the video making, we thought, uh-oh, this is a really bad position for the camera because we can't really see everything that Travis was doing when he was assembling the rods. So we moved everything inside the house so that we could position the camera to face him and you could see it better. Now don't forget, you can use pruning shears to cut the rods down instead of an oscillating tool. And you cut them to 24 inches in length. We use 2 rods for each set of flags. From there, you want to take the wood bead, measure up about 5.5 inches, and then secure it with wood glue on both sides of the bead. And all he's doing here is rotating the bead so that all of that glue gets nicely underneath the wood bead on the inside where the rod is. Then he wipes it off and adds the glue on his finger to the other side. Now he is ensuring that it is in fact the correct measurement, and whatever he has left on his finger from the glue, he adds to the end of the rod. So he can then add the large wood ball cap. This is the end of the flag pole on the flagpole handle where you will be holding it. Here's a great tip. Instead of struggling to get that end piece on, as you can see him doing here, all you need to do is get a hammer and pound it onto the end there. But if you don't have one or can't find one like us, you can simply use a 150 grit sandpaper on the end instead and sand it down before putting the ball on. And then you'll just have to glue the ball on after you're done sanding. From there, he simply measures one more time to make sure everything's in place properly, and then lets it sit for about an hour so that the glue can dry. Once it's dry, you want to begin the process of lacquering the poles. You lacquer it all the way up 3 times. Just a little bit of a tip, we like to use sponge brushes instead of paint brushes. It seems to get the lacquer on there much smoother than using the paint brushes. When they are waiting to dry, we like to hang them up using clothespins. And you want to let it sit for about 30 minutes each time you apply the lacquer. Once you have applied the lacquer 3 times, the next step is then to add the spin tube. And the beauty of this kind of tubing that we use is that you can use a really good pair of scissors, and that's all you need to cut it. You don't need a saw or anything, just a good pair of scissors. So as you see, he slides it on and he puts his finger right where he wants to cut it. He tries to cut as straight of a line as he can possibly get. And once it is cut, the next step then is to use your heat gun to straighten the tubing out so it spins properly on the rod. One tip in doing this process, you want to make sure that you don't keep the heat gun in just one spot for an extended period of time, because it will end up burning your tube. So move it consistently back and forth, spinning the rod in your hand all the way up the rod until it's nice and straight. Now, of course, if you do not have this kind of tubing and you would rather use PVC or a PEX pipe, then all you need to do is cut it with a hacksaw and put it onto the rod and proceed to the next step. And here's what it looks like when you're done doing that. It spins quite nicely on the rod and slides off, as well as slides back on very well.
Once it's heated and melted in place, you want it to cool like this as long as you can, so that the heat doesn't allow it to warp.
So you want it to be cool to the touch.
It needs to be cool to the
before
touch.
you.
If you take it off and it cools like this, it'll stay with a warp and you'll have to rebend it.
Okay. Almost finished. Now you just need to put the end cap on the very top there of the rod, using the wood glue, of course. Travis likes to add the glue in the hole as well as on the rod, and then just slide it on there. Of course, as usual, if you need to, sand it down. None of these are ever exact. Some fit on perfectly, others do not. So there will be times where you need to sand it. Okay, final step. All you need to do from this point on is to lacquer the top piece now 3 times, just like we lacquered the rest of the pole earlier. And don't forget to let it dry about 30 minutes in between each lacquer application. And then you're done. you have yourself a flagpole. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm so excited for all of you flag makers out there. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. We will have so many more videos coming up in flag making, and we don't want you to miss a thing. So be sure that you subscribe. Also, make sure you go and check out Starline Batons. I will have them listed below. They sell metal flagpoles that you can order if you do not want to make these yourselves. But these are definitely good to know how to make because those rods are certainly very expensive. They are made out of metal. If you do not want to make the poles or the flags, you can order them from us. They come in sets of 2. So you get 2 flags and 2 poles all assembled together, ready to go straight out of the box. I will have linked below how you can find those rods and flags at our Etsy shop, and we certainly appreciate your support. Well, I think that covers it. Thanks for watching, everyone. We love you very much. Happy flag making and happy worshiping. Shalom.